As a child, I hated books. I remember whenever we had to read a book or anything else in school, when I was in primary school, it was like I can't do it. And I remember a time when my mom, she was like, please read a book. And I was like, no way. I'm the same as my son now, so I can see how it is from the parents' view. So she's trying to get me to read, and I'm really saying no all the time. And I remember one time she was like, okay, I'm gonna read with you and we can read together. And we were like this. I start reading and I'm like, I can't do it anymore. And then she takes the book and she's reading it for me. And I just remember me drifting away with thinking and everything, and just lying down on the table. And I really remember this scene. I was just lying and she was reading and she was all into it, and I didn't even listen anymore. So I really hated books when I was small. And I don't know why was that, because later on it changed altogether, but in that time it was really crazy. I do remember one book from my childhood, and it was about 11 kids that one father had, and he didn't know what to do with them, and he just made a soccer team, and they were winning all over. And it was like a small book, and it wasn't a lot to read, and it was pretty interesting for a young guy as I was. And then I remember when I was a little older, I was sleeping in a room where we had a bookshelf. And when I was laying in my bed, I was always looking to this bookshelf, and there was a lot of books there. And I knew a lot of the books and the authors, but I never read any of them. Until one day, I remember it was like this blue book. It was really interesting that it was like a fat book, and I was looking it all the time, and it just drew my attention. And for years I was looking this bookshelf, and it was really interesting because I didn't know any books, and this one was really drawing my attention. So one day I just picked it up, and it was really funny because it was so light. It was a thick book, so I thought it's gonna be heavy, but it wasn't. And I'm just like, and opening, and the title was interesting. It was like, I think it was 7,000 Days in Siberia by Karlo Štajner. He was, I think, German or Austrian guy in Soviet Union, and it was in, I don't know, after Second World War. And I think that it was about their regimes and something, and he was some kind of a politician or something, and they just throw him in jail and question him with some government or secret service or something like that. And I was amazed by the title, 7,000 Days in Siberia. And I was calculating how many years is that, and I think it was about 20 years. And I knew that something was happening in 7,000 days, and it just felt a lot. So after many, many years that I was looking at this book, I just came across it and started reading it. And it was really fascinating because I never dreamt of taking such a thick book. So, and then I started reading it really slow, usually in the evenings before going to sleep. And it was interesting. It was an interesting book. And again, I remember I was probably reading it for, I don't know, a couple of years, because I was reading it for some probably few days or weeks, and then I forgot about it. And then I forgot what was all about, and I got a little back and forth and everything. But eventually, I think at the end, or probably at the second half, I just one time I just stayed with it and finished it. And I remember this for the first time that I thought, okay, that's a good book. And what I wanted to say is that my mother and my sister they were really great readers, and they read a lot. And maybe I hated that, just reading the book, just not paying attention to anything. The funny thing is that I never had problems with restoration of the book. I always get some information about the book from my schoolmates, and I know that by the time I was in high school, I was so good at it that I could really perform great restoration of the book. And teacher bought it every single time. And in I think that didn't read a single book in my high school, and I'm really not proud of that. It just I couldn't. It was so frustrating for me. And then I remember that when I was studying law, and there was a lot of studying of legal books and everything, I just had to read, and I never had problem with reading this material. It was interesting, and of course you had to pass the exam, so you had to read it. So I get my probably some condition about it, and I could just do it for hours and hours. So I got my discipline about reading probably in those times. And then I remember probably in time when I was around 30, when I became a lawyer, and I was reading some books with some attorneys who was like from I think there were books from John Grisham about some damages and some other crime stories and everything what he wrote. They were really good books. And then I remember some other books, and I was trying slowly to get grip of the books. And then I remember when I was an attorney and a lot of stress was coming, and I was working a lot. And that was the time when I started reading books about self-help, stress, anxieties, burnout, and everything, and just trying to progress spiritually. And I remember the book of Robin Sharma, the monk who sold his Ferrari, and it was a great book. It's, if you haven't read it, it's really bestseller. It was bestseller, and it was about an attorney who like had stroke in his 50s in the middle of courtroom. And I could really see myself like being 50 and something and just fell down in the courtroom and have had a stroke. And something similar, not entirely similar, happened to me probably about 10 or 15 years later. So it was like I knew this book was gonna make a change in my life, and it did. And I make some notes about it, and I bought it for probably 20 people and just gave it away. And some people loved it and some people didn't. But my passion of reading got stronger and stronger over those years. And then I was just starting to read spiritual books. And after that, there was some scriptural studies for me. And I think I remember reading in 1 year, I made a plan to read about 50 books, and I think I did around 30. And it was a great year. A lot of knowledge, a lot of notes, a lot of spiritual growth. So it was a great year. Sometimes we don't start reading books because we like books. Sometimes just life takes us because we are looking for answers.